Good evening, everybody. BGG here from DinarUpdates.com. Appreciate you for tuning in. I want to shout out to One Bobby, Kaylee, Cricket 22, Romello, all of our news researchers, Tim Tarkington, Burnell, who? Yeah, I did. One Bobby, also. I said that. Pat Corbin, who is the leader of the band. He does everything while I'm not there, so which is a lot. I have a ton of stuff to do every single day. I never get to everything, and Pat is absolutely the man. He totally he stands in the gap more than anybody knows. So, Pat, thank you so much. Everybody, thanks for being here. All the news is good. In fact, here's what we're going to do tonight. This is tonight. It's going to be a short call. Are you done? Can we keep going with the call now? Are you good? Feel better? Got it out of your system? She's sneezing. She's like in the throes of... Anyway, what? Where was I? That might be a short call tonight. If you want to get in queue to ask a question, hit *6 on your keypad. That'll put you in line. We already got people in line. I'll do my best to get to everybody tonight. We're going to run through some headlines. I'm going to give you some quick thoughts, where I think we're at, what I think is going on. I'm not going to give you any date. I'm not going to give you any rate. I'm not even going to talk about that stuff. That's, and especially with us buying and selling currency, it becomes kind of a little bit of an issue. You know what? We haven't done that for a long time. Long time. Haven't bothered to go into that. We comment on the news. We comment on what's fact. We comment on what is public knowledge. And, when people get me on the phone on the side, they say, tell me the truth. What do you really think? That's what I really think. I've already told everybody what I really think. And, if somebody asks me a rate question, there's 2 or 3 critical articles. I say, look at this, and look at this, and look at this, and this is what those articles say. That's my opinion. I basically try to parse what they've already said in public. And if I'm wrong, that's just an honest mistake. So, let's get to the news. I'm going to do a rapid fire. I'm going to cover some news, current news of the day. I'll give you an idea of what's going on these days, what I think of it, some ideas. By the way, I said a while back, I said Barzani was in a terrible, terrible position. He's this faux step-down program while keeping his party, his family in power. That's all baloney. I told you a long time ago he was in a bad way. He did the wrong thing for Kurdistan. He did the right thing for himself. And he should have I'll tell you what he'd been smart to do from the very, very, very beginning. Once this thing kind of was going downhill for him, he should have waved the white flag, asked for a deal with Washington, swung all of his support in favor of unity, and bailed out. He got himself the golden ticket. He had the golden ticket both for Kurdistan and for himself. If he had played this thing right, he'd be sitting for Virginia drinking margaritas and, enjoying the winter that's about to come to Virginia. And he would not be faced with what he's faced with right now. This is about to get no good for him. I said it a long time ago, and it's going to happen. So anyway, I don't relish in being right about that. That's not a good deal. Okay, news. Here's the headlines. I'm going to blaze right through this. There was a headline out today, which is kind of a nondescript headline. The only thing I like about this is that they're actually talking about the exchange rate as it's linked to a basket of currencies, and that implies some kind of association with other currencies around the world. It says a simulation of the dinar exchange rate linked to a basket of currencies. That does not mean that there are a basket of currencies, quote unquote, that are going to be revalued all at the same time. That's what the internet wants you to believe. That's not what this is talking about. The only thing that I like about this headline, it's essentially referring to international reintegration, just bringing bringing Iraq back into the fold. That's all it is. Anything more than that, don't read more into it than that. Najafi here's the headline, and I'm just going to read the headline. Najafi asked in Washington to arm the Sunnis and send U.S. troops and reinforce his electoral fortunes. That's kind of a PR piece. He may have asked such a thing. None of that's going to happen. They're not going to start a secular war. So Najafi can be. He's as crooked as the rest of them, and all that's going to go by the wayside. So I doubt highly, and that's probably a political hit piece. Somebody's just trying to say, hey, this is what this guy's after, kind of looking out after his own self, blah, blah, blah. He stands virtually no chance at the next. I would step out and make this prediction. If you want a prediction, I would say that Abadi has a very, very strong chance of re-election, almost unencumbered. I think there's going to be virtually, just on the very merits of what he's done so far. For heaven's sakes, he's up for the Nobel Peace Prize, folks. He's probably going to be reelected in 2028, more than likely. Abadi's next headline, Al-Abadi's economic advisor, this is the condition of Baghdad in exchange for handing over the province's share of the budget in 2018. First of all, Abadi's economic advisor is Saleh. That's who it is, Mohammed Saleh. That's what they're talking about. And basically they're saying this is what we want in exchange for handing over their share of the budget in 2018. They essentially want the revenue. They want the money back. So the things that were supposed to have been done in the past, they're going to want those things to be done in the future. And I think he's leaving a carrot out there. It looks like to me that they haven't reduced the share of the Kurdish region's budget from 17% to 12%, because it says right in the article, what is being circulated in the media about reducing the share of the Kurdistan region from 17 to 12 are just drafts not yet adopted by the government. So they're kind of leaving a little something on the table, and I'm not so certain all that wasn't even it was a show for them to have some negotiating room, and that's their room. They come to the table, they do things right, they deliver the revenue, it's 17%. They play this the wrong way like Barzani did, it's going to be 12, and it's going to be a hard way. I told everybody in the very beginning, this is going to go one of two ways. It's going to go easy, or it's going to go real easy. So that's how it's going to happen. Simply a matter of time. Inevitable. Here is maybe the most compelling, the most interesting, the most scintillating piece of news I've seen in a very, very long time. The headline says, will Nouri al-Maliki be tried for treason soon? Why is that interesting? Well, number one, I've seen a number of reports about this, a lot of detail, a lot of thoughts, a lot of how they're going about this, and I was just I didn't even have this article when I was kind of doing a little final research for the call, but I was kind of in my mind that was going to be the main thing that I wanted to really hit on, and then I was going to say, in general terms, Abadi has formed this commission, or is in the process of forming it, some kind of committee, legal experts who are going to deal with corruption. Maliki is number one on that list. I'm not sure. I don't know what Abadi's personal level of involvement was over the last 10 years, but I'll say this. From this day forward, he appears like this is the encouraging thing about all this is he is attempting to change the culture in Iraq from one of from a culture of corruption to a culture of law and order. He's really dealt with the Kurds in a very hard-nosed sort of way, but on the flip side of that, he's dealing with Maliki in a very hard-nosed sort of way. I'm not certain after all the news came out about Barzani and Maliki being in bed together that he isn't dealing with the same problem problem A and problem B all at the same time. But he's dealing with both sides of the fence. He's dealing with the Kurdish corruption. He's dealing with the Shia corruption, of which he is part of. He's a Shia. And I just think that this is a watershed moment for Iraq. It's a very, very big deal. And it has, forget about today or tomorrow. I'm not saying any of that. What I am saying is, for Iraq's future, this is the brass ring. Someone who will do this. So, and that probably is the most compelling moment of the call tonight. Next headline: Central bank stresses that banks not to sell dinar to its branches in Kurdistan. Just putting more, they're putting more pressure on Kurdistan economically, and it will be resolved fairly soon, I believe. If it continues the way it is the addendum to that comment. So if they keep going in the same trajectory, it'll happen soon. Barzani says that the takeover of Kirkuk is an Iranian plan with the knowledge of Washington. Barzani he's toast. That's just baloney. That's just him being him, and that's just so much gibberish. It's a gazpacho of junk. Can't even figure out what to do with that headline. It's Barzani trying to. I mean, it's not even worth worrying about. Great headline here. Abadi says our next war will be on the corrupt. And that's exactly what I was saying earlier. I mean, just headline after headline. This has been going on. This has kind of been moving this direction for a while. I've seen this trend. I've been thinking about it. And in the long run, that's really, really good for that's good for Iraq. And it's good for us. Anybody invested in Iraq or anybody with a vested interest in Iraq's success, that is spectacular. The number one thing, this right here, this is why this didn't happen back in 2012. Want to know why? Because they were too corrupt. They were corrupt. The plan was on the table. It was laid out in front of them. All they had to do was follow the plan. They are following the plan now with the assistance of the IMF, the United States Treasury, the United Nations, the World Bank. All those governing bodies are in on it with them. They're telling them what to do. They're doing what they're told. They didn't ultimately. I think Maliki and his cohorts in the Council of Ministers looked at this thing in 2012 and said, we're just not interested in doing any of that. We're just going to shelve it. With the deletion of the zeros program is going on the back shelf. We just don't want any part of it. And they had another plan. In fact, his plan, he could have been reelected, but his plan for reelection was this: set the whole world on fire, and I think I'll get enough votes to make it. And guess what? He's wrong. And, we know how that ends. So he'll more than likely be tried for treason very soon. Kurdish sources says, and actually the way that you pronounce this is Najmuddin Karim, which is the guy they used to call, they used to pronounce it, they could never pronounce his name. Google Translate, and it would be like something, watermelon. Watermelon cream, C-R-E-M-E. They would pronounce the watermelon cream. And I was like, what? And this one, they never can translate it right, but it's spelled Najmuddin Karim, but it's actually pronounced Najmuddin Karim. The sources say that he has fled from Erbil. In fact, it's spelled Arbil, but anybody that knows anybody from that region, it's pronounced Erbil. He's left Erbil and he's gone to Washington. First of all, he shouldn't have been in Erbil. Number one, he's the governor. He has been the governor, long-standing governor of Kirkuk. What's he doing in Erbil? And he's split. He's headed for Washington. So, according to Kurdish sources, that's the headline. Kurdish sources: Najmuddin Karim has fled from Erbil to Washington. I wouldn't even know how to pronounce that, except for I have a local friend here in Middle Tennessee who is from Kurdistan. Next headline: Parliament calls on Baghdad to accelerate the opening of dialogue in accordance with the Constitution. That would be the KRG parliament. The Kurds want Baghdad to get to the table as quick as they possibly can, and Baghdad's slow walking it. But listen, Baghdad's got them over a barrel, and I believe they're going to do the right thing. They have to do the right thing. There's no way. Listen, it's not going to be bad. They're not going to hurt them, but they're not in a big hurry. They just want to let them sweat a little bit. And IMF, UN, World Bank, they got to do the right thing here, but they're going to let them stew in their own juices for a little while. Had to do this stupid thing. Let them deal with it. And here is, I'm missing, darn it. Hang on a second. Let me see if I can't do this. No, can't undo this. The headline reads, positive between Baghdad and Erbil and looks forward to a real dialogue. This was put up, and for some reason I messed up, and I didn't get the text here, but the text of the article was essentially U.S. State Department is looking forward to real dialogue between Baghdad and Erbil. And, here we go. I don't know what happened. This is out of Fox News. Said the U.S. State Department said that the relationship is developing between Baghdad and Erbil, and it's inspired a real dialogue based on the Iraqi constitution. There was a lot more to this article. Somehow I managed to delete it. I had some stuff that was kind of important. Oh, what? It came back. Here it is. I'll read what I can. Last week there was a significant change in the relations between Erbil and Baghdad, and there was a desire from both sides for dialogue, especially after the cessation of military operations. U.S. State Department spokeswoman Heather Nauert. Actually, she's the lady that was Heather Nauert was the lady that was on Fox. I can't believe they spelled her name like that. She said in the news conference. They're looking forward to starting real dialogue between the government of Iraq and the Kurds, according to the Iraqi constitution. So that's very, very good news. They need a country based on law and order and their own constitution. Last headline: Baghdad looks to take control of KRG oil, and they will. There's no doubt. That's. I'm a huge Kurdish supporter. I am not a Barzani supporter. He and every single other official that's corrupt need to go to jail. So, would have been better for everyone if he would have taken his golden ticket. But since he didn't accept the golden ticket for the Kurdish people, he should not be allowed one now. Should have a hard road to go. Anyway, those are my comments. First caller. We're going to go to Q&A. First caller is from the 614 area code. 614 area
Hi,
code.
BGG.
Colin, you're live.
Hi, BGG. Hopefully you're feeling much better.
I am, and you know what? Thank you. Let me take a quick second and tell everybody what happened. It was real. It was legit. It was horrible. It wasn't, not that horrible. It was. We almost never eat out. I'm on a very specific diet. We cook almost everything we eat. We went almost 2 months one time. A stretch of 2 months, we didn't eat any eat out food at all. Nothing. We don't eat out. There's just we're on a very specific thing that we do. And we were up, running around. We had a bunch of errands to do. We stopped at a 5-star restaurant in Franklin, Tennessee. It was a good restaurant, no knock against them. But I had more eat-out food in one sitting than I've had in a long, long time. And something did not agree with me, and I was very, very sick last night. And I was sitting here trying to get ready for the call, and I was sick. I was in a bad way. So I took a gas pill, and I laid down, got a little sleep in me, and I got over it, but it was absolutely the food. So it's just something my delicate system was not ready for. Thanks for the good thoughts, and I want to make sure I told everybody what that was. So, because I hate doing that, but I was within, I don't know, what were we, like an hour from doing the call? It was inside an hour, and I was sitting here with my headphones on, and I was thinking I was going to puke on my computer. So I was like, man, I gotta tap out of this thing. So anyway, that's exactly what happens. Appreciate it, caller. Thanks so much.
Okay, no projectile vomiting here. We're glad you.
It was close, and that's exactly. I told her as I was walking out of the room heading for the John. I said, just send the tweet. I'm done. I'm out.
Oh my. Well, I had two questions. I think you pretty much addressed the first one. It was about that article on Maliki, and did that actually have any gas to it? I certainly hope it does, and I hope it.
Well, there are too many. Listen, there are too many. That's a good topic. Let's talk about it. There are too many. For me, usually when I see it once, in a weirdo kind of sort of way, like one of those Turkish kind of disinformation websites. If I see it there, it's like they're just trying to get a rise out of somebody. When I see it 3 or 4 times, it's got some legs under it, and I'm telling you, I think this has got some legs.
Good. I love it. The second
and it may not be today or tomorrow, but exactly what I said on the call, it's signaling a shift in the political climate in Iraq, which is completely away from the corrupt. And if Najafi thinks he's going to get elected to anything, like dog catcher, he is severely mistaken. They gave him a vice president's role just to shut him up. This next time around, I don't think he'll get anything.
Okay, because he's Sunni, isn't it, Najafi?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yep.
I remember that was a big deal when he got that, but he didn't seem to have done very much with it.
Well, it wasn't. It was an honorarium. It was just a, hey, let's give him something. These guys. I really think Iraq's political structure is in for a shakeup. It looks like that to me. And the reason is because it's so slanted away from, and you see the same thing around the whole wide world. United States, we kind of went through recently a very, very big political shakeup. Europe is going through all the same stuff. They're electing officials that will shake things up. That will be, far right. That will be nationalists. That are going against the normal political grain. I'm telling you, I think Iraq has seen the very same thing. I don't think this is I think that they're basically, this next election from them is going to be along that same lines. And I think the good news for Abadi is he's managed to harness 2 sides of that. He's number one, the incumbent. He's number 2, the guy that's on the side of that trend.
And stayed alive.
It stayed alive, exactly. How he managed all that, I have no idea. And that's why the guy's probably, I mean, if you were looking at the Nobel Peace Prize purely based on achievement, he probably should be a shoo-in. Purely on achievement. If you weren't looking at the politics of that whole scenario and you were looking at achievement, he's the guy. No doubt.
Without the 10,000 bodyguards that Maliki had. The other question I was going to throw out was I was listening to Beck the other morning, dishing out his gloom and doom on Iraq, and he was just talking about the Shiite militias, and it just didn't make it sound like a very bright future for Iraq because of the Iranian-controlled Shiite militias. Just exactly how entrenched are those militias, and is there a chance of getting rid of the Shiite militias at any time?
No, and there's no reason to. I think Beck has a lot of these big guys, they have a very narrow view. And not a very well-informed view. One thing that Abadi has really been able to manage very well, he's been able to kind of hold the scales up and use both sides and able to involve both sides in their country. Abadi is obviously Shia. I will say this, that the Shia militias are far less entrenched than they were a year ago. They are far less a loose cannon than they were a year ago. They are far more under the central government's potential influence and even potential control than they were a year ago. Maliki formed these hoping that this would be his last line of defense, and that's not even close to what they are now. They've kind of obviously taken on a life of their own. Maliki used them as initially for Baghdad security and security checkpoints and stuff like that. He formed them as his own private army, but the bottom line is they're not even close to what he intended them to be. And now, I really think Abadi in the long run, he will, because he's gradually affected every single plan that he imagined. Baghdad has wanted control of these Shia militias, or more control than they from the very beginning. They don't want bands of armed militias running around doing whatever they want, or worse yet, doing whatever Ameri wants. Ameri's going to have to get it through his head. If he's going to go anywhere in this political structure, he can't have his own private army. No more than the Kurds can have their own private oil wells.
Yeah, so the militias can be they'll basically have fact of life. They'll always be there, but they can be neutralized. Would that be the way to put it?
Well, they aren't neutralized; they're an asset. The way the way Abadi has used them, they've been very effective.
Okay, it's not a gloom and doom scenario.
No, that's just listen.
I was thinking there's a lot more to it than this narrow perspective, and I wanted to get your additional.
Unfortunately, anytime you argue with an Iraqi, he always starts with this. There's a lot more to it than that. That's his first statement. It's way more complicated than that because it's always complicated. But I don't see it as that. I think the militias are. They're going to be, they've always been a fact of life in Iraq, by the way. Going back, Sadir gave up his militias, and he probably shouldn't have, but he did. He literally had some of the most powerful militias in the Middle East ever in history. Million-man army. Ameri has a lot of stroke because of those militias, but really, Abadi has done a fantastic job continuing to draw the militias into the fold. And ultimately it's going to boil down to money. Number one, they got to get paid. If people don't get paid, they're not going to work forever for free. That's how it is. And you're going to wind up doing whatever your boss says, the guy who signs paychecks. So as Iraq's economy goes, so does the rest of Iraq go. And they're in good shape. They're progressing forward. It's not a doom and gloom scenario. It's a good scenario.
Well, BGG, this is Andy in Ohio, and I think I speak for everybody when I say, we pray for Abadi's, safety and well-being, just as we pray for yours.
Well, I appreciate it. Thank you so much, Andy. Fantastic call. Let's do it again soon.
Have a good night.
Okay. Next caller. It's from the 519 area code. 519, thanks for calling, and you are live.
Yeah, it's great to talk to you, BGG. I love listening to you guys call. I rarely say anything. But I want to thank all of you and your team and all the people who contribute, because my intent is down the road to have my trust not only invest in Iraq, but take a percentage of that and invest it in the children coming out of the war-torn areas. Do some pilot projects on healing them, getting them forward. And just the politics and getting just a different feel of Iraq is what you and your team tend to give. You don't sugarcoat it, but you also don't mess around with, not really, you always have a passion for these people, and your passion and your love is wonderful to hear.
Well, I appreciate that. And we try to, just play it straight. I read it and I tell it like it is, and that's the best I can do. Some people like it, some people don't.
Well, you do a great job, and I was in a drumming circle in New York State, and I'm a Canadian, and there were 60 people drumming. It was a beautiful New York State night, and the guy leading the drumming circle looked around and said, "Look around the circle. You see everybody is a species of two legs." He said, "Everyone in the circle is your family." And I walked out of that, and from that moment on, it changed how I saw all the people in the world. Now, don't get me wrong. Some of my family I'd rather not have at my house. But that doesn't mean that I never have compassion and love for people walking their walk, because some of it is not easy. So I just want to say thanks to all of you.
And thank you. I appreciate it. Very kind thoughts. I have immediate family I'd rather not have in my house. But I have incredible compassion for them as well. And I pray for their safety and their well-being and their good fortune. But if I don't have to hang out with them, that'd be just great, too.
Gotcha. So thanks so much to you and all the wonderful people that are in your circle.
Thank you so much. Have a great night. Great call. Okay. We're going to do one more. It's going to be a really short call tonight. That's going to be it for us. Last caller is from the 408 area code. 408 area code, thanks for calling, and you are live.
What's up, Mr. BGG?
We are in the house.
All right. Thank you very much. Hey, I have a buddy that is in the investment with us, and I've been in for about a year now, a year and a half, and he is already saying, hey, I don't think – I heard that this isn't going to do anything for another couple of years. Is there anything to that, do you think? Do you think we're going to wait another couple of years before we see this RV, or what are your – I know there's no crystal ball, but just what are your feelings? You think it's going to happen this year or next year or even a couple of years out?
Okay. Here's the way I look at stuff like this. We both agree that there's no crystal ball, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So these idiots that are calling for it next week, they're not right, correct?
That's correct.
Anybody that's so the flip side of that equation is, if they're not right, then the people that are saying that it won't happen in the next 2 years, they're probably not right either. The point is this. I think, and this is my personal view, and this is especially lately, but for a long time this has been the way that I answer these questions about rate, about date, about what's going on in Iraq. Nobody knows. Nobody knows the date. Nobody knows the hour. Nobody knows the time, or whether it's even. My personal sense of this is that it is inevitable for Iraq to be reintegrated with the world economies and the world markets, that they will likely have to, and they're not at this point. I mean, they are moving that direction. In fact, it appears, based on all evidence that is publicly available, it appears that they are moving towards that goal with great diligence and great speed. But it's my sense that some kind of economic, monetary bundled reform will have to happen for them to fully engage with other world economies. Now, having said all that, I just look at people that predict today or tomorrow as just simply foolish, and the flip side of that is the people that say it can't happen for the next 2 or 3 years, they know just exactly as much as the first group. Nobody knows. So to say that it's going to happen tomorrow or the next day, that's probably number one dumb on the list, and number two dumb on the list is to say it's not going to happen for 2 or 3 years, because I don't see that. I
Sure.
mean, if you simply if you look at the evidence that's out there, it doesn't look like 2 or 3 years. I mean, I don't know what the time frame is. I'm not even like 2 weeks, 2 months, 6 months.
It looks like there's still a lot of work to do, right? I mean, we thought that once one.
I don't know how much. I don't know. Well, if we knew what that list looked like, then we could exactly quantify how much is a lot of work yet to do. I don't think so. I think they're flying through that list. I mean, I would like to think. Man, I hate to. I just hardly want to go down that road about putting a time frame on it. But I will say that if the problem with saying that there's a lot of work yet to do is we don't know what the list looks like. I mean, they've kind of pointed out a few things on the list, and it looks very encouraging.
Right. I get it.
I'm very encouraged by what they did after Mosul. I'm very encouraged with the IMF, World Bank, the United Nations. All the reports that we get from Iraq are glowing. They are lending Iraq money. They're giving them support. And why those things are important is this, because without those stamps of approval, Iraq will never get international support. This is why this Kurdish situation, listen, if you look back at what Rex Tillerson offered Barzani not to do this referendum baloney, he essentially gave him the golden ticket to international integration. He told him, we'll eventually accept you as a separatist state apart from Iraq, and we'll back you completely with all the international organizations. Barzani didn't take it. He was an idiot. He was a retard. There was something else at play there, because that moment was exactly what you're seeing Iraq go through right now. I mean, you're seeing Iraq get that kind of support. Everybody's like, they're loaning them too much money. They don't ever have to do this. Listen, those little tiny bitty loans, they don't even add up. It doesn't even matter. What those loans are is those are the little tiny credit cards that you get before you get a home loan.
Right.
I hope
little
everybody.
Band-Aids.
Yeah, they're a little bit tiny. They're kind of like rubber stamps. Yeah, your credit's good. Yeah, your credit's good. Yeah, your credit's good. Now we're going to, and eventually they're going to rope that in, and I'll tell you why they're going to rope that in, because it's like the number 4 largest world oil supply. You think a banker hadn't figured that out yet? They're going to rope that stuff in, and they're going to have those assets at their disposal. What that's about.
Awesome. Well, God's got a great plan. We're just watching it unfold.
That's exactly right. Caller, I really appreciate it. You have a great night.
You too. God bless.
Okay. I said it was going to be a short call at will, but we got one more caller. Let's take this caller. 205, area code 205. Thanks for calling. You are live, caller.
BGG, how you doing?
This is the BGG. We're doing good, man. Thank you for asking.
I want to tell you, man, I love you guys. Y'all do a great job on research, and I've been listening to you for probably 5 or 6 years. I'm in it a long time. I want to also say a couple of things. One, I'm sorry about our cookie, and we love Mr. White. I have a few friends that we talk about y'all's as many times as we possibly can. But I do have one question for you. And we've kind of been rolling this around among ourselves. And when Alok in Washington said that they had stopped the multi-currency policies, but then yet what's been happening in the last couple of weeks with the airlines, and everybody is bringing in all these other countries. Saudi Arabia is bringing in, 28 flights a week. The flights are coming in from Europe. They also said they were opening airlines to Malaysia and India. Now, when all these people are coming into Iraq, and they've already stopped the restrictions, how are those people, if they're going to buy something, how are they when they hit the ground? And are they buying dollars? Are they buying dinars? Are they bringing other currencies? How is that actually working?
That's not. Listen, you're reading this all wrong. All that stuff has to happen on a free market. And anytime we do the same thing here in the United States, people come and they go. They're able to exchange. Right. They're able to exchange currencies freely. That's just a currency exchange function. The MCPs that Alok was talking about relate to the Iraqi government and the petrodollar. Period.
Okay.
Iraq would they would sell their oil in petrodollars, and they would sometimes use those petrodollars. You'd use U.S. dollars inside Iraq for projects. Sometimes they would buy their own dinars back with dollars, and they'd work the system to do projects inside Iraq. They're eliminating that, with the exception of, according to the IMF. Now this is according to the IMF's own the IMF's own press release. They congratulated. It was a while back, 6 weeks ago or maybe more. They were giving Iraq kudos for stopping all of their, long before this Washington D.C. meeting. They were giving Iraq kudos for stopping all their MCP practices, with the exception of one exception was the Jordanian arrangement, and there was some reason they couldn't quit that, but whatever. They said it's all good. In the end, they said they put their stamp on it and said that they were okay with it.
Okay, so basically, when they hit the floor, they're basically buying more dinar, and then using that as their currency if they're trading inside Iraq?
Inside and outside. They're looking to do both.
Right.
And that's the point. And that may well be the trigger for this thing. They may not be able to go on that much longer without having Iraq, the IQD, as a
international currency.
Well, that's kind of what I'm getting at. I don't know exactly how to describe that, but they are moving away from the MCP practices of the past, which is using more than one currency as their governmental form of currency. And
right.
I don't know how they're going to be able to even, the point is, how do they live up to those kudos that the IMF just gave them 4, 5, 6 weeks ago, and still act the way they've acted in the past? I don't know.
The construction that is going to be going on in the beginning, I doubt if Iraq themselves have enough employees as citizens to do all the work that they need to do. It is going to be probably one of the biggest construction booms anywhere in the world because of all the stuff that has to be done.
Well,
I'm amazed at some of the stuff that you read.
Here's the dirty little secret. It already is.
Right. Right.
Yeah, it's way, anybody who's ever taken a helicopter ride from Erbil to Baghdad is just, they're already doing that. So whatever happens in the future, it's way bigger.
And Abadi, I hope Abadi does get the Nobel Peace Prize, because if anybody deserves it, he does, because he has done an amazing job in the last couple of years.
In the face of what he had to deal with, you're exactly right. His political foes were abominable, and what he's been able to do is it's spectacular.
Yeah, I go as far back as when Alawi actually had one more vote to be prime minister and turned around and gave it to Maliki. That's how far back I go. And we thought when Alawi was getting in that there was something going to change. But Maliki, I'm sure that Maliki's day in court will happen sooner or later if he doesn't skate to Iran or Russia before the lynchmen get there.
Well, if he's smart, he's already setting that up, because that appears to me to be inevitable. That looks like it's on its way.
Yeah, that's true. Well, I tell you what, we can't thank you enough in your research, all your guys. Y'all, they do a great job. My hat goes out to all you guys. I've never called before, but I've listened to probably every one of your calls. I used to listen to you and everybody, even Poppy 3, when you and Poppy 3 used to do one. So I've been listening to you for a long time. And I always wanted to say thank you, and we really appreciate all the hard work y'all do.
Well, I appreciate it, caller. Actually, it's funny you mentioned our cookie, because I was transferring all of the previously recorded our cookie tapes to a hard drive for safekeeping for sometime in the future.
Wow, yeah.
Because he was a fantastic resource, and that was just last week, by the way.
Yeah, it was. and he appeared to be such a nice guy and very smart. I love listening to hear him explain things, and it does. And this has been an extremely. I probably know more about Iraq than I do my own state. So it's amazing actually.
Well, that's what I understand. I'm there with you. So we probably ought to spend a little more time on our state politics as well somehow. If not today, sometime in the future. But caller, thank you. Great call. Real appreciate it. We do appreciate those your thoughts about our research, and everybody here. I cannot say thank you enough to all of our researchers, folks. That is it for tonight. That is our makeup call from Tuesday. I appreciate it. We will come at you again soon. Kind of keep an eye on the news. As we talked about here, a lot of stuff going on, a lot of developments almost every single day. Huge news and huge headlines, a lot of stuff in the news. Things are moving forward. Looks good for everybody. Don't lose heart, and make sure you stay tuned to DinarUpdates.com /the blog /the observer, the private Facebook group. We will continue to bring you more Dinar news, Dinar info, and Dinar commentary as we're able. Have a great night.